Hey guys, this is Circuitrix and I'm back with another video. And in this video, we will be looking at how to secure a hardware internship at Western Digital. The internship at Western Digital is actually coming under the system design intern role in Western Digital. So make sure that when you're looking at an interview or a HR round, make sure that you mention system design intern and not hardware intern, because it shows that you're more engaged towards the company and you've done your research. So talking about Western Digital, it's an amazing data company. Uh, in the 2010s or 2000s, if your dad or granddad had a hard disk, it might be from the Western Digital company. There's a very big possibility of that. Mainly because they were a leading data storage company in those times. Having acquired SanDisk, they've expanded bigger than before, and they're one of the leading data storage companies. So having that said, we'll be looking at the eligibility, the process, and the preparation strategies. Talking about the eligibility, typically you have a CGPA criteria of 8 plus for NITs or IITs in India. If you're not from a tier 1 college or an NIT or an IIT, you might have a slightly larger CGPA criteria of 8.5 plus. And if you are from tier 3 colleges, it might be slightly larger as well. The eligible streams that are allowed to sit for this role would be CSE, EEE, ECE, and instrumentation, which is also known as electronics and instrumentation in most of the colleges across India. And typically, again, Western Digital prefers PG students, but undergraduates are also welcome to sit. And if you are as good as the MTech students who are sitting with you, there is a very high chance that you will be hired. So make sure that you don't hesitate and rather focus on the preparation strategy. Talking about the stipend of the internship, it is 35K per month for campus hires. They would be providing accommodation and food. The location is typically Bangalore or Hyderabad. And the roles that they offer include firmware engineer, system design engineer, and logic design engineer. Talking about the process of the internship hiring for Western Digital, there is typically a online test which is for 3 hours. You will have a digital section, an aptitude section, a C coding section, and a debugging round, followed by a techno HR interview and another one if they deem required for you. So the two interviews will both be techno HR interviews, which means both of them will have a majority of the interview would be a technical interview, and towards the end you will have a small HR interview that will make them understand. Talking about one of the most important parts of the hiring process, the online test. The online test has 3 sections, as I mentioned earlier: the aptitude section, coding section, and the electronics section. In the aptitude and coding section, the main focus will be on quantitative aptitude. You will be solving a lot of quants from the CAT books and from aptitude preparation books, GRE books. So quants will really help during the Western Digital aptitude section. Talking about coding, you will have a lot of debugging questions, finding errors in the code, given a lot of multiple choice questions that require you to find the errors and debug them. You might have to find the output of a code snippet that is given, again from the options given, and there might be some questions based on the complexity, both the time complexity and the space complexity of a code snippet that is given to you. Talking about electronics during the online test, the main focus would be on digital electronics, of course, and in terms of analog, there is not much focus, but there is a focus based on the RC circuits that you will encounter. A lot of questions were asked from the time constant and a lot of variety of RC circuits using and involving a variety of combinations, including the BJT and the FET. followed by a lot of questions on logic designing. When I say logic designing, what I mean is, um, uh, a peculiar case might be given to you and asked what the circuit does. So you might have to interpret the design that has already been given to you from, again, multiple choice questions. There were a lot of questions on basic combinational circuits, and finally, there were some questions on dynamic and static CMOS circuits. Talking about the interview, I would like to give an outline of the commonly asked questions which was asked to me during my interview. So, with respect to the digital section, the questions that I was asked was to design an adder, and after the adder was designed, I was asked to um, use the adder and make a bit shifting designer. So I had to devise a device that shifts the bit by one place or two places to the right or left. The next part was to design a multiplier using some constraints that they had given. So they would give you some constraints like these are the only modules that you can use, and you have to design a multiplier using all of those. Then the next question was to generate an infinite series using binary and binary alone. I would like to leave that to your imagination, because it's a very interesting question, and that was I'm 100% sure that answering that question right was the reason I landed the internship. The next question I was asked was a counter based detector. What I mean is, I had to design a sequence detector using just counters, and after I had designed the counter, I had to use only CMOS circuits to implement the design. Now this was the second most challenging question, and getting these both right would most probably land you the interview. Land you the internship. The next question was to design a counter using Verilog. This is a piece of cake if you know Verilog basics. And finally, they ended my technical bit of the interview with resume based questions, a few skills that I had mentioned, and what projects I have done to exhibit those skills. So, this was the technical aspect of the Techno HR interview. During the HR round, I was asked where I see myself in 5 years and what I plan to do to make sure that my goal is reached. A little bit of aptitude questions, guesstimates were asked. I was asked to guess the approximate distance between the sun and the moon. I was asked my basic understanding of how a GPS works, and a little bit of linear geometry questions, the distance between two lines, you know some questions using the properties of triangles. So brush up on your 10th math if you are a weak student in 10th. So try to brush up your math and be sure with your common sense and your geometry. So the next bit was a little bit of puzzles using binary logic, and finally they just ended the interview using some project based questions. So in this part, again, make sure that you have not lied on your resume, and make sure that all your projects are solid and all your projects have been done by yourself and only yourself. I think